Hello, Sonny Bonani. It's 7:34 Central African Time. I have the one, the only Crash here alongside me. Welcome to the top tier Breakaway League Racing. It's Austria. It's a sprint race. Crash, how are we feeling?
I'm great. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic on my end. Lungs is here. It's good to see him. Keeping an eye out for
Titus.
Yes, former champion Titus. He needs the points. He's currently in towards the bottom of the standings. Well, he's P16, so he's currently in a playoff spot. Sprint race, a perfect opportunity for the likes of Titus, Inati, Mshengu, Ludi to possibly grab some points. Of course, with the load shedding situation, we might see a couple more drivers hop on from 8 p.m. onwards. But C-Clay is here. Considering that Brown Boy and Malusi are not here, he may just need 11 points. He could just have this championship in the bag, Crash. What a season it's been.
Is it that close now? Oh, wow.
Yeah. If Malusi and Brown Boy do race, then, of course, then he would need 2 more wins this season. But if they're not here, then it just makes his job that much easier. But it's been a dominant showing from the champion, a string of victories. Josh, Damnesia, the only person to prevent C-Clay from winning this season. So he's been in sensational form. He'll have 12 laps in the sprint race to start from the back and 36 laps in the race proper around this oh-so-fast track. Is it as simple as, it's a fast track in terms of the distance that they cover and, of course, the lap times that they put in, but is it deceptive of a track in the sense that, there's that you can, sort of come unstuck, Crash?
Definitely. It's a very straightforward track at first glance, but then when you're actually racing the track, it's quite a tricky and difficult. It's quite a tricky and difficult track because, the corners, you need to get them inch perfect because one mistake, you've always got a person right up your gearbox. So one mistake, you're off, the person has gone through, you spin around, and it's easy. It's actually quite easy to crash out at Austria because the high speed you're carrying out from corner to corner on the straights, the DRS zones, the constant ERS management and so forth. So, yeah, it is quite a tricky track. But, yeah, let's wait and see.
Looking forward to that. Hopefully nobody's spinning, but definitely a good race and challenging for these drivers. Mfundo is also here. He's the sole Alpine driver today, and Kaboza and Esbuda representing Williams. It's a full representation for them, as well as Haas and Aston Martin. Titus and Inati both here. Both drivers need the points desperately. Inati has had a few races this season, but not enough as far as collecting points are concerned. Inati is rock bottom, -1 points there, so he's also desperate. And today, with so few drivers represented, golden opportunity for Inati to rack up those points.
Definitely. I'll actually take you back. I was actually chilling because I'm off and I'm chilling on holiday. I was watching the race. I was actually watching Tier 1 Abu Dhabi today.
Yeah.
For some odd reason, because I was playing around on my YouTube. And then next thing I watched that race, I must say it was a beautiful race. Sihle, Kaboza, Brown Boy, Melo, Zotal. Yeah, no, it was an epic race. I actually enjoyed it so much. I was watching the fight between the two drivers, between especially Brown Boy and Melo. Probably went on for like 12 to 20 laps of the actual race. So it's quite crazy.
Absolutely, that battle behind the leaders, and of course Kaboza trying to hang on towards the end there was some beautiful racing out in Abu Dhabi. A wonderful advert for the top tier of Breakaway League Racing. If you've just joined us, welcome to Austria. It is Bob and Crash right here. And we're about to watch the sprint race get underway. There's no quali. It's a reverse grid, so the drivers towards the bottom of the championship standings have a golden opportunity to stake their claim for a decent start in the main race, which will follow immediately after the sprint. So C-Clay, of course, will have to fight his way from the back, and the likes of Titus and Mshengu and Inati have a golden opportunity to grab some points here in Austria. Sprint is going to be fairly interesting.
Set
Yes,
of
Crash.
mediums can take them all the way to the end.
Oh, for the sprint. How many laps? Is it
Yeah, I'd go
12
mediums.
laps?
12 laps, yeah, I'd go mediums.
Mediums that should be
I'd go
more
mediums
than
to be
enough.
quite safe.
And for
But you
the
know,
main
people gamble.
race, what would you start with?
Probably hards or mediums, hards, mediums, hards, depending on where I am on the track, but I'd definitely go for hard mediums.
All right, looking forward to it. I'll just keep a close ear on the comms chat. I'm having echo issues, which is also coming through in the main stream, Crash. So I'm just gonna try and sort that out on my end. Hopefully, it'll be fine before we get to the end of the sprint.
All right, no, it's fine. Let's just engage with the people and hear what they have to say. Can we get word from our viewers? How's the commentary coming through? Is there echoes? Is there problems? Obviously for us it's bouncing off us because we've got so much of the sound around us. I've got my TV on, I've got my laptop on, so everything, you see.
Yeah. I was just checking in the stream as well, and every time I speak, there's an echo. So please let us know in the chat. Yeah, and
Oh, there's Gosana, yes.
All right. I'll just do what I can to quickly try and sort it out. We'll be back shortly. And then, Crash, you can just take us through the race. I'll be listening in.
What is happening? Okay, Inati gets away. It looked glitching at the start, but I see they're carrying on. Inati's away, definitely. Can you put on the, oh yeah, formation. Can you put on the tires, enable the tires, enable the interval, everything please.
Yeah, the interval hasn't started tracking yet, possibly because it's still the formation, but it is on interval settings.
And then tires. Tire choice, definitely medium for everyone. So T92 says there is a bit of an echo, but it's not that bad, you know. So just check it out on your end and see if you know it's extremely problematic. If you can't figure it out, I mean we can take it on because I mean judging from what T92 says. So we've got Inati starting out in front, Mshengu, Sbuda, Titus, Mfundo, Ngebo, Diwax, Bangobi, Romeo, Lungs, Topoza, and Sicher starting at the back. So anyway, for everyone who's just tuned in, today is sprint night. We love in Austria the Red Bull Ring. So it's a reverse grid for the sprint race, 12 laps of scorching pace, and then that determines exactly who starts on pole position for the main race. Main race will follow straight after this. As they all take the final corner, final swerving of the cars just to warm the tires up. Inati Chengo, they missed it there on the line. They missed it on the line. Titus misses it. Nebo misses it. So we're about to go off. It's green flags all around. Four lights, 5 lights. And we're off at the Red Bull Ring. Cars pull right, cars pull left. Inati goes off and he's lost the position. Spuda takes the lead, followed closely by Mfundo. Oh my god. There's carnage. Amobi has crashed. Diwax has crashed. Sihle has made up a couple of positions. He's up to 6. Titus is dropping. Topoza's in P4. Oh wow, it's carnage. Mshenwa has dropped all the way to P9. So Spuda's out in front, followed by Mfundo. who got a clean getaway. Nebo also got a good getaway. Goboza's in P4, followed closely by the reigning champion Sihle, and the favorite for every race this season. Romeo's closely tucked in there behind Sihle with Titus behind him. Let's see, a number of them will be coming into the pits. So let's watch them as they take the penultimate corner. Smuda goes through. They're all going through. Romeo's pit. Ngobi comes into the pit. Smuda, the early pace setter, out in front, followed by Ngebo and Sihle. Goboza's in P4, Titus P5. Yo, what has happened there? Romeo pits, Diwax pits, Ngobi pits. Windows lost a number of positions. I don't know what happened there. He probably might have spun. Just to answer Unkosana, the grid lineup for the sprint is always a reverse grid in terms of point standings during the season. So Sihle started P12, so he's made up practically 9 positions all the way up to P3 in lap and a half per se. So it's quite crazy. Smuda's holding it out in the front, early pace setter. Hope he can hold it out. He needs this more than anyone else. DRS hasn't been enabled. So Smuda's already 2.5, 2.6 seconds up. Sikh is hot on the heels of his partner Nebo. He's pushing him, pulls to the inside with the DRS locked in, and he makes the pass. So he's on the hunt now for Smuda. 9 laps to go, 2.5 seconds. Let's see what the reigning champ can do.
Let's see indeed, and after some tweets on my end, it seems there's still a little bit of an echo. Do apologize for that. Sihle has managed to claw his way within a space of 3 laps, crashed 2.2 seconds, now hunting Buddha. Sensational stuff. And Fundo at some point was in the hunt, but like you said, he's fun.
Yeah. Out. Van Moby has crashed out. So Van Moby has crashed out. We've got yellow flags, sector 1, 2, and 3. Is it a VSC? Is it a safety car?
Looks like a virtual safety car. As Buddha will be looking at his mirrors 100%. But as you say that, Django in the comment section, Sihle is already less than half a second behind the race leader under virtual safety car, which will soon be ending. And in those conditions, Inati opts to come into the pit for a set of soft compound tires. Looks like Capote is following suit in the Williams. He is currently P7, but he might just fall to P8, depending on how close Mshengu can get. And here comes Mshengu now, as Kapoza makes his way out of the pit lane, but he hangs on by the skin of his teeth, and Mshengu will have to settle for P8 before the virtual safety car ends. Yes, Crash.
Is it a VSC?
It seems like it.
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it.
The reason why I'm asking, okay, race on. Race on.
Race on. As Buddha versus Sihle at the front.
Sikle's already 6/10 on him.
Yapusha isibuda uminyile lapha phambili amareyazama left 5 of 12 nikuzobambelela eshinda ukuthi unqebo naye he's holding back
Yes, they're working well together, and Lebo's going to try and keep the likes of Lungs and Mfundo behind to allow his teammates to fight hard and possibly claim the race leader class.
No, definitely, but I think Smuda mustn't buckle under pressure. He's got a tendency of spinning off late, and I don't think he must also use up a lot of his ERS, because obviously Sihle will be pushing with a lot of pace and trying to force him to use a lot of his ERS. So Smuda must just try hold out, use it when necessary, and just keep track position. I mean, with good defense, but also he mustn't overly contest Sihle if he's coming in hot, because one mistake could cost him 6, 7, 8 positions, you know. One spin out, 6, 7, 8 positions, and he loses a lot of valuable points that he needs. Anything inside the top 3 would be good for him. That's 8, 7, 6 points if he's P3.
It would be 100%, and Esbuda needs the point, so he needs to keep his head here, as Sigle sets a fastest 107.994 in lap 6 of 12. It's halfway through for Esbuda. He has to keep his nerve and keep his lines clean as he makes it out of turn 3 safely. Sigle has DRS, and is he going to think about it? Well, no, not necessarily. He's probably going to use this DRS stretch to possibly overtake if he's thinking about it at this point of the race. Of course, Sigle being Sigle, he might be playing with long game, but this time he tucks on the inside and surpasses and claims the race lead at the halfway point of this sprint race, lap 6 of 12. Sigle leads the sprint race from Esbuda, who is now gone from the hunted to the hunter. Esbuda is a Williams sandwich, rather a Williams meat and a half sandwich, and Nebo a further 1.8 seconds behind. Hunted himself by Lungs, currently running P4. Behind Lungs by a factor of about 4.8 seconds is Mfundo. So, Crash behind the top 3. The field really split up here, and Titus a further 2 seconds behind the Alpine. Kaposa, who did come into the pits, interestingly, for those mediums, which are now 2 laps old, is P7. Mshengu, P8, with a time penalty to boot, and Romeo is P9. Inati, 10th, with those brand new soft tires. D-Wax at the back of the pack, P11. But that Haas man, says Kid K, well, he's already 1 second ahead of the Williams.
Kaposa responds with the 106.9, fastest track of the race, on the first set of mediums. So he's got the pace, I wonder what the strategy was around the pits, or maybe he assumed the safety car was coming.
Perhaps.
I don't know.
Yep, that is definitely a possibility, and setting that quick time on these mediums, so Kaposa is definitely a man to look out for in the race proper. In the main race, we'll have, I think, more than 30 laps of the main race, so do stay tuned in lap 7 of 12 of this sprint race. Sigle leads by almost hovering at the 1.8 seconds now to Esbuda, currently running P2. Sigle keeping it clean, keeping it tidy, and keeping his nose out of trouble, and has a 2-second advantage over the Haas following on. Titus, the former champion, is now within touching distance of Mfundo in the Alpine ahead. He's about 7/10 behind the Alpine driver. Let's hop on board with him to see the red light flashing up the back of the Alpine. So Mfundo has been using his battery, trying to keep Titus at arm's length away. Meanwhile, Titus has just over 70% of his battery power, so it's advantage Aston Martin coming into turn 3. He will have DRS, Titus goes wide of the apex there, as Mandla also starts to claim a 3-second time penalty. It's a quick track, Crash, but what is it about the nature of Spielberg Circuit of Austria where you're susceptible to those time penalties? Is it just carrying too much speed into corners?
Too much speed, missing your braking zones, overshooting the corners. Yeah, there's a lot. You bunch it up, it causes a whole lot of problems. Also, take note of something. It's quite interesting with Tier 1. As we going to the end of the season, you must remember in sports, there's always big players, and they rise to the occasion when they're supposed to. I.e., Smuda is doing that now. He's holding on to at P2. Titus is back, and he's going to be fighting for that automatic retaining his position basically in Tier 1. So the people positioned out of the playoffs, have got a lot to work for, because, these men are going to be fighting tooth and nail in order for them to remain in Tier 1 without actually playoffs or relegation. So it's going to be quite interesting going to the end of the season. And the back markers, all the guys that are briefly safe, need to ensure that they participate.
I'm sorry to cut you off there. Titus chasing Mfundo went completely wide of the braking zone, or rather coming out of turn 3, and he crashes out. Just as you were saying, he needs that temperament crash. And it's a full safety car.
And it's a full safety, so safety car to the end of the race. Or maybe we just have 1 lap of racing.
We definitely hope for that single lap of racing. A dramatic crash, just as Crash himself was speaking about the need for the guys at the bottom half.
From Fundo.
Oh, Fundo, was it speeding under the safety car?
Yeah, boo.
And Fundo really did not need this. He's now going to have to bide his time. But as he does so, remember, the pack is going to get backed up. And, and Fundo is just going to go slipping and sliding quite likely out of the points as he serves that drive-through penalty. So Fundo currently P5, but, the Alpine team will not be best pleased with that, with just a couple of laps remaining in the sprint race. Titus dramatically crashing out in his battle with Mfundo, and pretty much seconds after a crash, who I must say is quite prophetic in commentary as well as in the comment section. The things that Crash says tend to happen. He was just speaking about missing your braking point, and we saw Titus do exactly that before sending it straight into the wall. Lap 10 of 12, the safety car is coming in, so we'll get at least lap 11 and lap 12. Of racing, and
Koboza's gonna charge Minjo there. Koboza might get a position of Mandla. He went in again and took a fresh set of softs, so that was a good, nice gamble by him.
Absolutely, he is going to be hunting down Mandla, and of course Mfundo is going to come in for that drive-through penalty, and it's just a pity for Koboza that Mandla is 12 seconds behind Mfundo.
He's catching up. He's catching up. Definitely. Sikle's backing them up quite a bit.
Yeah, so Mfundo, or rather Koboza, does have a golden opportunity to get quite a couple of overtakes done, but he will wish that he had more than just these two final laps. Here comes Sinclair sending it down the main straight as Buddha half a second behind. And Neville, is he going to be able to keep the likes of Lungs behind him? Well, let's hop on board with the half driver. He's got the front row seat to the battle for the race lead while trying to keep Lungs behind him. He manages to do that. We're not going to have DRS before the end of this race, which is going to be good news to the guys hoping to keep their positions, and not so good news for Koboza as Buddha has a little bit of a moment coming out of turn 3, but keeps it together. He now falls to about 7 tenths behind the race leader.
Koboza goes through on Romeo. He's 3 tenths off Mfundo. He can make that position as well.
He definitely can. He dives on the inside of Mfundo, and he's up to P5. 2.4 seconds behind Lungs. There might be a stretch for Koboza to catch him to the Red Bull, but Mfundo still needs to serve that time penalty, which will cost him and see him falling out of the points. Koboza gambled for a set of stock tires. Well, it's paid off. He's up to P5, and will now be hunting down the Red Bull of Lungs, who himself sees Inebo within touching distance. Perhaps on this main straight crash is where he could get this move done. Out of turn 10 comes Lungs and stares down the back of that hat. 6 tenths he is behind, so he's going to have to perhaps do it on one of these DRS zones. But of course he won't have a DRS, so he's going to have to just line it up carefully. Meanwhile, Seaclay leads from Espuda by a factor of about 1.1 seconds as we watch this onboard of the Red Bull chasing down Enebo, Seaclay's teammate, for that final podium spot in the sprint race. It's the final lap of the sprint race, lap 12.
Koboza's 4.5 tenths on Lungs. 4.5 tenths on Lungs, Koboza.
And can he get it done? It's a good day for Williams as far as being in the sprint race points are concerned. Of course, if it stays as is, then it'll be 2 Williams cars in the top 5 in the feature race. It's going to be a good day if that is the case, but they of course need to get together here for the final part. Lungs is thinking about that overtake, but he doesn't seem to be close enough.
With the time penalty.
3-second time penalty. Good news for Koboza, who makes a little bit of contact with the Red Bull, coming into turn 10, and Espuda! DNF!
No!
Before the line! Espuda! How on earth did that happen? It is going to be a top 3 of Seaclay and Nabo, and Koboza is up to the podium spots in the sprint race. Crash, that is absolutely unbelievable.
No ways.
Espuda crashes out on the final lap of the sprint race. He needed these points if he finished in the top 2. Koboza P3, Lungs 4th, Romeo 5th, Inati P6, Diwax P7, and Shengu, the final driver to claim a point in the sprint race here. Oh my word.
I need to run up to Paddock for a plate of food. I'm coming.
All right. Well, that is that as far as the sprint race is concerned. Some fire emojis, some heartbreak emojis on behalf of, on reflection of what we just saw towards the end of this sprint race. Look at that. Esbuda crashing out in the dying stages of this race, joining the likes of Titus and Ban Kobe, who dramatically could not finish this race. And, of course, and Fundo and the Alpine, having served that time penalty, will start the main race in P9. Esbuda will start P10, and then Titus and Ban Kobe will be fighting back from the back of this 12-driver pack.
Ekunzima hii ku-top tier man. Cabanga uSibuda cishe wathola ama-points angaka. Uyawadinga la
points. Yes, he does dinga the points. He needs the points, does Esbuda, but dramatically crashing out over there. Tendai said, I said he is going to spin, so Tindo, not exactly the biggest cheerleader as far as Esbuda is concerned. Now he will have to steel himself up, and the Williams team has it all to do here to claim as much as they possibly can from this here sprint race. That basically means, that sprint race means if we do not see Malusi the Malusi and Brown Boy in the main race, well, then C-Clay needs just 3 points to claim a three-peat as far as top-tier Breakaway Racing League championships is concerned. What a driver. The gold standard in the top tier of this here league. And, it's been a dominant season. Back-to-back race wins from C-Clay. The only man to have denied him so far a race win was Josh, aka Damnesia. All those races, all those weeks ago. Well, what a result for Haas. Front row lockout, says a jubilant C-Clay in the comment section. And, Django says Haas is running in formation. Crash,
absolutely
dramatic
no
stuff.
Ways. Absolutely no ways Buddha would do that. Oh my god.
Dramatic stuff. Final turn of the final lap in the sprint race. Yeah, absolutely dramatic stuff. 30 seconds until the feature race gets underway. Thank you for joining us on the top tier Breakaway League Racing. It's Crash and Bob on commentary. Brown Boy says, coming with the crying face emojis. Well, perhaps we will see Brown Boy in the main race here, but if that is the case...
Was he able to join in time?
I didn't see the notification on the lobby, so I suppose it's going to be a surprise that we'll see now as the countdown ends. And we look forward to this race getting underway proper. It's going to be formation lap once again. It does look like Brown Boy has made it in time, sadly. So, C-Clay needs 3 points. Just 3 points to secure his third consecutive championship. What a champion, what a driver, what an absolutely dominant season he has had. Yeah, he unfortunately could not make it. After the drama of that final lap in the sprint, it is a Haas front row lockout. What a day. Gunther Steiner bouncing off the walls here in Austria. And Caboza for Williams, P3. Lungs will start in that fourth spot. We know what a threat he can be. So Caboza, do look out behind you. Romeo, aka Mambla, P5. What a decent day for him if he can maintain here and hang on to this top 5 spot for the rest of the race. DWAC 7th, Mshangu 8th, and then Mfundo, Esbuda, Titus, and Ban Kobe rounding things off. Let's take a look at the tire strategies now. Caboza, interestingly, the only man to roll the dice on a set of hard compound tires. Everybody else going with a medium tire start. So perhaps Caboza... do you think it could be a hard to soft strategy around here? If so, what do you make of that, Crash?
Hard to medium.
Hard to medium.
Yeah.
Hard to medium strategy. Presumably, the rest of the grid, which has started on those mediums, will go the inverse, medium to hard eventually. Well, let's get a sense of whether or not...
Also, the medium strategy is a good call because they're judging from what happened in the sprint. So they're expecting a lot of those mistakes and the DNFs to come in, because obviously people are going to be even more eager now because they messed up in the sprint and they're prone to mistakes.
Absolutely. Crucial insight there. And Lebo did not quite get the car placement spot on. Sadly, D-Wax ghosted out at the end of the sprint race. He, well, don't know if he lost connection or if he is currently under load shedding. Here we are with Inati looking to get it right. He does not quite get that positioning perfect as Buddha does. He'll be kicking himself still, trying not to overthink his race start and indeed his race here, because he's got 36 laps to just keep it together. And with his 12 drivers, well, golden opportunity for him to get it right. Welcome to Austria. 4 lights, 5 lights. The only time South Africans look forward to the lights going out. Seakley leads the race, the championship, and he gets us off underway. Decent start for him. Kaboza pips the Haas. He's up to P2. Coming into turn 1, and Lungs is on the hunt as well. Look out for him. Kaboza goes wide coming out of the turn and loses that initiative. Remember, Kaboza on those hard compound tires. Meanwhile, Seakley has got the drop or the advantage on his teammate and Lebo. A Haas 1-2 keeps it together coming out in turn 3. This is the perspective from Kaboza. It was a yellow flag coming out of that first sector. It looks like Inati's been bumped all the way down to the bottom. He might have had a spin bringing out that yellow flag. Seakley coming out of turn 4, no issues for him. Kaboza trying to stay in touch with the Haas's, but behind him by a factor of 3/10 is Lungs, of course. And it is a procession on this first lap. It's going to be battles all over the grid here. And Ban Kobe is slowly climbing his way up the pack. He started towards the back, and he's now up to P9 in the McLaren, chasing Titus in P8, Crash. Decent start.
Very decent start, definitely.
Meanwhile,
Seakley is obviously going to quickly pull away.
Yep, fastest lap 1:12, the first lap, of course. So we're gonna get a sense of what his pace as this race rolls on along. Mandla is hunting down Lungs. He was less than a tenth behind the Red Bull, but Lungs has managed to claw his way a little bit of an advantage. The gap now 8/10 as Mandla comes through turn 3. No issues for him there. He's gonna be fighting to hang on to that P5 spot, perhaps take advantage of some mistakes which could take place ahead of him. Ahead of him, of course, is the Red Bull of Lungs, who's trying to catch up to the hard tire running Kaboza. And as the laps tick on along, Kaboza's hard tires will slowly get their way into a optimum working window. So the Williams driver doing well to stay in touch of that Haas over there, even though he's being hunted down by the Red Bull. Lap 2:36, thank you for joining us. We've just had a dramatic sprint race. We're hoping for some drama as far as overtakes are concerned in the sprint race. Lap 2, soon to be lap 3. Seakley crosses the line for a 109.066. Better by Mandla, 108.8. Sensational stuff from the AlphaTauri driver so far. Into turn 1. Yes, Crash.
Yeah, the race pace is going to be at 107.9. Seakley's on the anti-service. But I think strategy at Austria is quite simple. Just stay on someone's gearbox. Let them make a mistake. Don't try to complicate things, overly dive. Because one dive bomb, you miss your turning point, you're gone, I mean, it's been proven time and time again. So just force the person in front of you into a mistake. Also, Kaboza is a big-time driver, guys. Like, in terms of big-time driving, rising to the occasion, he's that.
He's definitely that, as Crash mentions. Inati has left the session. Perhaps it's a network disconnection. We hope to see him back connected and back in his race seat, fighting his way from P12 currently. As this race moves on along and we do get the occasional dramatic moments, Inati does have a chance to finish in the points. But he's losing advantage, 32 seconds already behind. He's going to have it all to do here. DRS has been enabled. Lungs opens up that rear wing, as does Kaboza on those hard compound tires. It looks like Lungs is lining a move up here, but the DRS train will make things very, very difficult. Who will be braver? Who will brake latest? It looks like Kaboza dives on the inside of the Haas. Does he get that move done? A little bit of contact. Kaboza has a bit of a snap, but Lungs manages to claw closer to these two. Kaboza is now up to P2, 2.4 seconds behind. Beautiful racing by the Williams driver.
You should change his name to Big Time Kaboza because he's big time, man. He's on the hearts.
It's a masterclass of driving from the Williams driver, P2. And Django in the comments said, if Kaboza can hold on and we don't get a safety car, he might get that P2. He already has it, but of course Django might just be speaking about the race result. Long way to go, almost lap 5 of 36. And as these two battle, that being Kaboza and Enlebo, Mandla also is watching. He's got a front row seat to this beautiful battle taking place ahead of him. And currently hanging on to P5. He could have an opportunity, and Level thinks about it, but he's nowhere near close enough to get that move done on Kaboza. Rather, Lungs was thinking about it. Yes.
Also, just to answer Lungelo, I think the numbers say in this race he now requires 3 points because you got 8 points in the sprints to secure the champion. I'm not too sure. I never went through the numbers, but that's what I gathered from communication.
Yes, Ciclay needs 3 points to secure his championship, a three-peat here. Meanwhile, back in P9, Ban Kobe is on the verge of overtaking. He goes side by side with Mshengu, whose red light is flashing, and he positions that car perfectly to take that P8 spot. But Mshengu fights back. They're almost side by side here, and the Mercedes driver will have the outside line coming into this left-hander. He tucks right behind the gearbox of the McLaren, and well, Mshengu fighting back, not going down without a fight here. It's Ban Kobe's turn to play defensive and perhaps drain his own battery. But Mshengu is thinking about it. Coming into turn 10, Ciclay sets the fastest lap. Mshengu backs off the throttle there, and Ban Kobe has the line and the advantage going into that final turn on to the main straight. Beautiful battles. What about Lungs versus Enlebo? Well, they almost got that overtake done, but Lungs now goes side by side. He's on the inside of the Haas coming into turn 3, and Lungs will get that move done. Seemingly, he holds his line, and Enlebo, will he fight back? Yes, he does, but it's not enough. And here comes Mandla on Enlebo, meanwhile, looking to go side by side with the half driver. He gets the move done. Mandla's up to P4. Beautiful stuff, Crash.
Yo, I feel for Nebo. They're making light work of him. You're not even being bullied. They're pulling him right now.
Getting pushed and pushed further down. First it was Kaboza, then came Lungs, and now Mandla. All within the same lap, Lungs and Mandla overtaking the Haas driver. And as that happens now, he has to contend with the specter of S. Buddha, who's fighting himself, who's having a recovery drive of his own. Currently, P6 is the Williams driver. What can he do now in the battle versus Enlebo? Being bullied, as Crash has mentioned, and is slowly slipping down the grid. He did such a fine job in the sprint race of keeping others at bay, but right now, well, he is under immense pressure. Mandla seems to have taken liberties with that turn 3 there, I think it was, and he's definitely one of the pacier drivers since this race has started. Right now finds himself less than half a second, actually 3/10 separating him and the Red Bull of Lungs. Ciclay leads this race on lap 7 of 36. We are on board with Mandla in the Alpha Tauri. Let's see how he can do versus the Red Bull of Lungs. Slundo in the comments says Inati's AI is getting lapped in lap 6. He must just sit it out. Well, yeah, long way back for Inati if he can make it his way back here. Romeo versus Lungs. He slips a little further away by a couple of tenths and back into the potential clutches of S. Buddha behind him, who is about 6 or 7 tenths behind the Alpha Tauri here. Yellow flag in Sector 2. Is that Mshengu perhaps, who looks to have stopped? Yeah, it's a Mercedes. Mshengu might have had a spin in Sector 2. Mandla, going quite heavy onto the curve coming on in his final corner, but he keeps it together. He's going to need to well, be careful. As Crash mentioned earlier, so many opportunities despite the speed of the track. So many opportunities for drivers to rack up those time penalties. And as Mandla watches his line and, well, pretty much watches his back, he slipped to about 1.4 seconds behind Lund. So the rechase is on. As Buddha, P6. Decent recovery considering he was fighting his way back from P11. Now he's going to have his work cut out chasing Enlebo, who now has the mark on Mandla. He thought about going on the inside, but he wasn't close enough, was the Haas driver. So now the gap between these two is hovering at the 3 and 4/10 mark. What can Enlebo do here? Lap 8 of 36. Of course, the DRS has been enabled. He has a bit of a snap with Enlebo coming out of turn 9. Rather turn 8, and now going to be watching his line. Seaflake setting the fastest 108.5. Mandla's light is flashing, so he's used up a lot of the battery trying to keep all these drivers at bay. He's gained a net 1 position, has Mandla, since this race has started. P4, he did start P5, and Nebo, who was on the front row, finds himself now fighting back to get back into the reckoning for those podium places. But long way to go in lap 9 of 36. Your championship leader is Seaflake, and in lap 9 of 36, he's the race leader. 3.9, soon to be 4 seconds perhaps, as he chases down one of the ghosts ahead of him. Malusi the Malusi, lamenting Escom. Man, commiseration, sir. It would have been fantastic to see you strutting your stuff on this here circuit. Kapoza, P2, 4.1 seconds behind the race leader. Hard compound tires. Kapoza will run, of course, much longer than most of these drivers on the first stint. P3 is Lunds. Mandla running in 4th place, trying to keep Nebo at bay. P5 for the Haas driver, Seaflake's teammate. Espuda, who's seeing his teammate Kapoza fighting it out for a podium place. Currently P6 in on those medium compound tires. Titus, former champion, 3.5 seconds behind the Williams. Bankobi, P8. What can he do here? He'll be hoping perhaps for a safety car to bunch the pack up. Mshengu, P9. He found his way back. And Fundo, P10. He, of course, has had some incidents. He's desperate for points, is Mfundo. He's said that publicly this week. And then the ghosts of Dwax and Inati round off the back of the pack. So, Mfundo has already pitted for those hard compound tires. He did so 4 laps ago. And, well, he's then going to need to take very good care of this set towards the end of this race. 26 laps of racing to go. Let's go back and see how that battle, that mini DRS train from Romeo to Esbuda is faring. Esbuda has the front row seats to that battle, and 20 is hovering at the 20% mark as far as his battery is concerned. So let's see what he can do here. Wandal Shezi says to Malusi that Zotal was supposed to leave you his house key. Yeah, and Estelo is, well, complimenting Kapoza's performance on those hard compound tires, keeping Lungs at bay. Remember, Kapoza was the only man to start on those hard compound set of tires. Lap 11 of 36, Esbuda on the hunt versus Nebo and Romeo, who are definitely closer together coming in to turn 3. They get that done cleanly, and Nebo is right on the tail of the AlphaTauri. They're side by side, and he gets that move done going into turn 4. Mandla has to relent, and he's back down to P5, and has to contend with Esbuda, who will be looking to claim that P5 spot in very, very quick succession. Let's hop back on board with Esbuda, watching... Of course, getting those front row seats. Ooh, Mandla is fighting immediately back here through this sequence of corners. He's not going down without a fight. It's Tuesday action night in the top tier of Breakaway League racing. What can Mandla do coming out of turns 9 and 10 onto the main straight? The answer is he's going to tuck into the slipstream and adjust his line. DRS, rear ring open for the AlphaTauri driver. Is he going to brake later and blink last? No. He holds. He's like, oh, that's an almighty spin, and he's facing the wrong way. Mandla, way too eager to get that overtake done, and he crashes it into the wall. Mandla, what is going on? The AlphaTauri driver losing his nerve. Those tires must be screaming crash. Finds himself down now to P7 with the specter of Bankobi now chasing him.
I told you, the eagerness to overtake, and he should have known this because he's prone to spinning a lot and making a lot of mistakes. Should have tucked in behind Nebo and, seen through and pushed him up until maybe he makes the mistake or goes for the overall undercut.
Yeah. So instead of forcing a Nebo into the mistake, it's an unforced error from the AlphaTauri driver. Spun, sent it into, made a little bit of contact with the wall. Meanwhile, Esbuda seems to have had an incident of his own. He's now down to P6, overtaken by Titus, and has Mandla catching up back to him. So perhaps Esbuda had a spin of his own off camera, or perhaps it was a coming together with Nebo. Well, we're going to have to keep a close eye on him, as Mandla now finally relents, comes into the pit, as does Bankobi. close behind. And it's presumably on lap 13 of 36 will be a set of hard compound tires for Mandla and Ban Kobe. And yeah, he does that. Ban Kobe in the McLaren. How quick will Team McLaren be? Ban Kobe has a wing change on top of that. What could have been a fight?
Pay attention to Titus.
Yeah.
Titus is not overtaking anyone. He's letting them fall one by one in front of him.
Yo, Titus, athi kilibata one by one. Uyabayeka bayenza ama-mistake uTitus. Kanti kancane kancane uyakhuphuka.
Yes, Crash, definitely onto something here. Titus has kept his nose out of trouble, but he's a big gainer here.
Also notably so, the gap between the top two was 4.7 2 laps ago. It's now down to about 3.94 on the dot, which means Doboza's odds are, coming to the party.
They're singing, are those hard compound tires? Kaboza, beautiful performance for him. 4.2 seconds now behind the race leader, that being Seaclay. Had that beautiful overtake to take this P2 spot, and ever since has just kept it together without incident. So a beautiful drive from the Williams superstar, doing really, really well, flying that blue flag oh so high, 3.9 seconds behind the race leader, and we wonder when Seaclay will come into the pits. And Shangu, Malusi, the Malusi's teammate, has currently done exactly that, fitting those brand new set of hard compound tires. And in lap 14, soon to be 15 of 36, Seaclay carries on. He's not going to pit as yet. He's going to keep those tires taken on along, and the rest of the pack behind him is going to have to make up their minds whether or not they're going to blink first and come into the pits before the championship leader does. Beautiful racing for Seaclay. Kept it clean, kept it without incident. Fought his way from the back of the sprint pack to lead as far as, of course, from the sprint race to the main race is concerned, and has been absolutely untroubled as he makes his way from turn 3 down to turn 4. Meanwhile, Esbuda is going to blink here. Looked for a second like it was the ghost of Esbuda, but he's finally come into the pits, has the Williams driver to fit his set of, a brand new wing. So yeah, definitely might have had an incident off camera, and finally fitting those hard compound tires. Thanks to that coming into that pit, Mandla has overtaken Esbuda. He's now up to P6. So Esbuda is going to have to get those hard tires up to optimum temperature, which might cost him a couple of tenths. Even Mfundo has overtaken the Williams driver, but not by much. Not by much. So Esbuda will have a tire advantage as this race ticks right on along. Meanwhile, Mfundo, his red light is flashing. So as he tries to catch up with the rest of the pack, oh man, he's been losing up so much of his battery, has Mfundo, down to less than 10%, which will give Esbuda a lot to smile about as he looks to possibly overtake. Former champion Titus is now into the pits, and now I wonder what that will do to his prospects in his fight versus Nabo, who of course has yet to come into the pits here. 20 laps of racing to go. Welcome to Austria if you've just joined us. Seaclay, the double champion, soon to be 3-time champion if he can keep this together, leads this race from Kaboza from Lungs. The top 4 drivers have yet to pit, and we just saw former champion Titus come into the pits for those hard compound tires. What a day for him. 25 seconds behind the top 4 is the Aston Martin driver, and just looking to get those tires up to optimum temperature so that he can give those top runners a lot to think about. But that, of course, would be dependent on, some mistakes ahead of Titus or a safety car. But they've kept it clean, have the running drivers so far. Not a hint of a safety car, even virtual safety car, in this main race. The sprint race did have a safety car, so we've had our fair share of drama, and we're just going to have to see whether or not we can get a little bit more of that. Now, it is Esbuda versus Mfundo. That is the battle to watch down in P9 and 10 respectively. Let's hop on board with the Williams driver. Look at Mfundo making those twitches to his steering, tapping that steering wheel as that red light flashes. As Buddha can smell blood, he just needs to keep his head here and not make any mistakes, not go down the Mandla route of being too eager for the overtake. It's well and truly in Buddha's hands here in lap 17. Through turn 3 they come. Buddha heavy on the curbs there. He might have gotten a warning. Meanwhile, the race leader has finally come out into the pits. And that gives Kaboza the lead of this race. It's a double stack as far as the Hasses coming into the pits are concerned. Kaboza leads the race from Lungs, and Sikle, giving you a sense of what that gap was, will come out in P3. And Nebo currently coming into the pits, finally fitting his set of hard compound tires, will come out. He will hope to be ahead of Titus, but will that be the case? The answer might just be yes, and Nebo makes his way now. No, Titus has got the jump on the Haas, which still has to warm up those tires, and he will be under the threat of Romeo possibly. Or how far back is Romeo? No, Romeo is actually having a fight of his own. Romeo is 10 seconds behind, trying to fend off M. Shengu. Let's watch this. The Mercedes driver dives on the inside into turn 3. Who will blink last? Who will outbrake themselves? Oh, is there a little bit of contact there? Yes, a little bit. Mandla relents and goes a little bit off track. M. Shengu tucks into that P6 spot. Mandla will not be happy with that little bit of contact coming out of turn 3, but he's now going to look to be fighting his way back to that P6 spot, hoping not to repeat the mistake that he made earlier. It's Mandla versus Mshengu, the battle for P6. Let's hop on board with the AlphaTauri driver now. Battles all over this grid here. Buddha versus Mfundo. The Williams driver came out victorious there, and Mandla is looking to do exactly that versus Mshengu. He's just lost out, but he's going to have to bide his time here because that gap currently is about 7/10 coming in to the 10th and final corner. Mandla points the nose of that AlphaTauri straight down the main straight, and he's just going to have to bide his time. He still has DRS, and he's just going to have to bide his time here. Of course, Mshengu does have that time penalty, so Mandla need not take any unnecessary risks. Mandla is complaining with that contact for sure, says Santa Lamazanti in the comment section. Well, he's just going to need to bide his time and hold his nerve here. Meanwhile, Lungs came into the pits, and as he does so, here comes Sikle. And on the far side of your screen, you would have seen Lungs literally only getting to his pit crew now. So Sikle gets that overtake done smoothly without incident. And as Lungs makes his way out of the pits, how far back is Titus? Or how much of a headache can Titus give Lungs? Ooh, Titus goes well wide coming out of the final corner, being chased down by Enebo there. And, well, it doesn't look like he's close enough to give Lungs a headache at all here in lap 20 of 36. Beautiful pieces of drama all over the track here. If you've just joined us, Kaboza is your race leader. But remember, he still needs to come into the pits. Does the Williams driver, has a 13-second advantage over Sikle on those brand new set of hard compound tires that the Haas driver has. But look at that delta. What was 13 seconds is now ticking down into the 12 seconds, perhaps getting even smaller is that gap between P1 and P2. Beautiful stuff from the Williams driver. Fought his way up in the sprint race, took advantage of so many mistakes, both ahead of and behind him, to find himself on the second row at the start of this race. And right now, he leads in lap 21 of 36. Beautiful stuff from the Williams driver, who is having a really beautiful season. Currently sits on 64 championship points. Does Kaboza is 7th in the drivers' championship standings. So this result, if he can hang on or fight for the race win, will definitely see him in very, very good nick here. And remember, in previous seasons, Kaboza has been fighting just to stay in the top tier. But the longer he has become accustomed to the top tier Breakaway League racing, the more class, the more pedigree he has shown. And he did exactly that, starting on a very tricky set of compound to start with. He has managed to hold his own and give the likes of Cyclay, well, a lot to think about. Cyclay versus Lungs is the battle between P2 and 3, but daylight between them. Lungs is only making his way now into the final corner, and Cyclay is already, of course, at turn 1. Kid K willing Kaboza to finally come into the pit. I wonder, is Kaboza going for the ultra alternate strategy? Is he going from hard to soft? Well, as Crash mentioned earlier, that wouldn't necessarily be the first choice as far as strategies are concerned. So let's see what Kaboza will do towards the end here. Romeo is biding his time here, is not fighting too hard to reclaim that P6 spot. He knows, of course, that Mshengu has a time penalty to contend with, so Romeo not taking any unnecessary risks. Behind Mandla is Ban Kobe. For McLaren, P8 currently in lap 22 of 36. S. Buddha a further 8.5 seconds behind the McLaren. And Mfundo, who pitted so early for these set of hard compound tires, finds himself 2.5 seconds now behind the Williams driver. The ghosts of D-Wax and Inati are giving us a little bit of supernatural presence here on this grid. Meanwhile, Nebo has finally caught up to the back of the Aston Martin. What can he do here? Well, it's a fight-back drive for Nebo, who started on that front row, and right now he's just going to have to hold his nerve and open up that rear wing as he hunts down the Aston Martin. Let's see what he can do here. Kid K has, of course, willing Kaboza to come to the pit. Cyclay doing a fast lap on 2-lap-old hard tires, was Lindo's remark earlier on. Kaboza needs to pit. He's losing a second every lap. Here comes Lebo diving on the inside of the Aston Martin and gets that move done cleanly. Titus is going to have to relent. No! He goes wide, does the Haas driver, and Titus regains advantage as they go side by side into turn 4. And Lebo now going to have to fight back. Who is going to blink last? Who's going to hold their nerve and try not to outbrake themselves? Well, the Haas driver has to settle for P5 and tuck back into the slipstream, or is it? They're side by side. Kaboza finally coming into the pit, and Cyclay will overtake, of course, and setting a fast lap, 107.5. Kaboza finally opting for those medium compound tires. What a beautiful battle we have here between Nebo and Titus. Exchanging positions for which each and every sector it seems, and Nebo thinks about it, but of course, that'll be a weird place that turn 8. Or rather turn 9 to attempt that overtake. Let's see what he can do here. 3/10 on the main straight, and Nebo surely side by side with the Aston Martin driver. Into turn 1 they come, and he tries not to go wide like he did last time out. They're side by side again, and Nebo ahead by only by a sniff. Titus, meanwhile, is just gonna bide his time, perhaps content to allow the Haas driver to have the advantage here, knowing that he will have DRS. All right, it's Titus with significantly more battery life, but the Haas driver gets a far cleaner exit and manages to put a little bit of daylight between the Haas and the Aston Martin driver. 8/10 there. Oh my word, he left it too late, says Django. Perhaps, speaking about the Kaboza's decision to pit when he did, Kaboza now has a brand new set of medium compound tires, finds himself 1.6 seconds behind the championship leading Haas driver, that being Cyclay. Ooh, beautiful, beautiful racing here, and he's 13 seconds behind. Did Kaboza have a spin or something? Oh, he probably had a huge spin, because 1 second gap has turned to 13 seconds. Oh, Kaboza, what happened? Perhaps he was done dirty, so to speak, or he came unstuck as a result of cold tires. Perhaps that is what made him spin. So the race win is now, well, definitely, certainly out of the picture here for Kaboza. And that mistake has brought Lungs right into the picture. But not only Lungs, but you can also include Well, no, and Lebo is definitely way too far behind the battle between the Haas and the Aston Martin. But, well, Capoza, who was looking to be fighting for the race lead here, is now fighting to hang on to P2. Drama here in Austria crash. Absolutely dramatic circumstances. Lungs currently P3 into turn 9, 54% was a glitch. It's the real gap. Oh, all right. Perhaps that is the real gap, as Mamre likely mentions. Oh, well. That was, well, whew, that's a relief, because that would have been quite a dramatic way for Capoza to just get lured into the battle to hang on to the P2 spot here. Well, Lungs versus Capoza. Let's stay on board here and see. Capoza is in trouble now. Bring a tire degradation into consideration here. Yellow flag in sectors 2 and 3. Is that Esbuda? Who brought out the yellow flag in sector 3? Perhaps, because Esbuda was running ahead of Enfundo and now finds himself 6.7 seconds behind the Alpine driver. So, Esbuda, and as I say that, it's a 3-second time penalty for Esbuda. Oh, man. Well, he'll thank his lucky stars that D-Wax and Inati have ghosted out of the session, because that's he's still guaranteed a points finish. Now, the battle resumes between Titus and Enlebo. What'll it be into the final sector here? And Nebo manages to hold his nerve and hold it together. Turn 9 without incident for the Haas driver. Titus there and thereabouts. Turn 10. Careful not to go wide as the Aston Martin driver as they begin lap 27 of 36. What a beautiful sequence of battles we've had between these two. Van Colby becomes the latest driver to rack up a time penalty, joining the likes of M. Shengu and S. Buddha. Van Colby's time penalty will be absolutely good news for Romeo. Oh, Titus has a huge spin coming out of turn 3, and he crashes and damages a portion of his wing. The left section of that front wing is gone, and what was looking like a tasty battle for P5 has now possibly relegated, so to speak, Titus into the clutches of the likes of Bankobi and Mfundo, depending on whether or not A, he comes into the pits, and B, where that would release him. Of course, he'll come right back into the traffic, but Titus, the former champion, really looking out of sorts here. A man who hasn't been able to attend many races here is definitely out of his usual to the pit lane, and he will definitely lose so much ground. But as he does so, Mshengu will be smiling, grinning from ear to ear. Thank you very much, says the Mercedes driver, who gets that overtake done, as does Mandla, a.k.a. Romeo. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. Ban Kobe has had a moment of his own. Did he spin? Oh, he's ghosted out currently, Ban Kobe. We're going to get a sense of whether or not the McLaren driver himself, as he overtakes Titus coming out of the pits, doesn't seem to have lost a wing, but it definitely was a mistake coming out of turn 10. He's now going to have to fight with Titus, who has a brand new set of soft compound tires here, and a brand new wing to boot. Inati gets a time penalty, which would indicate that he is no longer ghosted. Well, Inati has been left, but he's well and truly back in the reckoning here, but sadly for him, at the back of the pack, that time penalty is going to cost him dearly. Oh man, drama all over the pack here, all throughout the grid, as it looks like Inati is fighting. No, he's definitely nowhere near any of his competitors here. So Lungs versus Caboza. That battle, which was within DRS range, is now 1.5 seconds. The gap between P2 and 3. And Nebo is currently 4th, 18 seconds behind the top 3. And behind him, by some margin, is Mshengu. Romeo, P6, as Ban Kobe relents and comes into the pits. And Mfundo will need no second invitation. 24-lap-old hard compound tires that Mfundo was running, with just 6 laps of racing to go. Well, he is going to have a lot to think about towards the end here, but he's keeping it together, knowing that he has the specter of Titus on those brand new soft compound tires behind him. What can Titus do here towards the end of the race, I wonder? He might not have enough of a fighting chance to have anything to say versus Mandla, who's probably too far ahead of Titus at this point. But that gap is trimming down by a factor of a tenth or two with each and every corner. Look at that, 1.2, 1.1, soon to be within DRS range of the Alpine driver. Former champion Titus has had a day to forget out here in Austria at the Spielberg Circuit, but as things stand, it's an opportunity for him to put himself within a slightly better points reckoning than the likes of M. Fundo. He's going to look to get this move done as soon as possible, as, of course, the specter or the prospect of a repeat mistake out of this sequence of corners haunts him. Well, it's Titus versus M. Fundo on this short sprint towards turn 3. Will he do it on this corner? No. I think he'll just bide his time and stay tucked within DRS so that he can get this move. Oh, a little bit of contact there. And hopefully not an incident there. He has a bit of a snap, does Titus. He was way too late on the brakes there. And as he does that, it looks like it was Titus's teammate who has been lapped that's following closely behind. Well, we're going to have to see about that. Lap 31 of 36. 5 laps, soon to be 5 laps of racing to go. Mandla joins the ranks of drivers that have racked up a 3-second time penalty. It's lap 31 of 36. Mandla will be kicking himself, but of course he does have some daylight. Does Mandla between himself and Mfundo behind, so he'll be thankful for that. Speaking of Mfundo, top back on board with the man chasing him. Mfundo's red light is flashing coming into turn 1. Titus is careful not to go into the back there. Turn 3 is an issue, says Malusi the Malusi, as he's watched mistake after mistake as Titus goes on the outside over there. A beautiful, audacious move there. Oh, and he has an almighty spin. Titus's car faces the wrong way. Oh, Titus with a day to forget here. A day to forget for Titus. Has another moment, a spin. Remember, Titus had that spin which sent him into the wall on the, I think it was coming out of turn 3 in the sprint race. It could have been such a beautiful points finish for him. And right now, an unforced error relegating Titus down to P8. And with 4 laps of racing to go, let's get a sense of the penalties. M. Shangu, 6-second time penalty. Romeo, Esbuda, Ban Kobe, and Inati, each with a 3-second time penalty of their own. Well, all these guys are going to have to hold their nerve now, including Kaboza, who is fighting off the Red Bull of Lungs, which is currently running just less than a second behind him. 3 laps of racing to go with a beautiful race we've had out here in Austria. A beautiful, memorable sprint race. And a beautiful feature race. Soon to be 36 laps in which we will quite likely be crowning this man, Siegfried, the championship leader, the champion of the top tier of Breakaway League Racing once again. Oh man, what a season he has had. Stick drift messing Titus up, says Kid K in the comments section. Titus with that huge demoralizing mistake there is now trying to claw his way back into the reckoning. And instead of fighting for the likes of, P6 or whatever, Titus is now fighting for P7 with Mfundo. And as I say that, he's now back within touching distance of the Alpine driver, who must be lauded for taking those hard compound tires as long as he had. Mfundo, 28 lap old hard compound tires, and of course he had to brake way sooner than Titus did over there, almost catching Titus off guard, and Titus almost sending this Aston Martin to the back of the Alpine there, which is fighting tooth and nail to keep the Aston Martin at bay. Titus goes wide, coming out of turn 3. He hates this corner, does Titus. lost his car in the sprint race here, has an almighty spin over here, and well, he's definitely not having such a fun time here. 2 laps of racing to go. Lungs versus Kaposa. What'll it be? What will it be for the podium finishers? Kaposa 11.7 seconds behind the race leader, and Lungs there and thereabouts. He's biding his time as Lungs, perhaps content to give Kaposa the full sense of security up until these laps here. Now, these final laps are crucial. This penultimate lap, if Lungs is going to get the overtake done, it is now or never. It's either this lap or the next. The final chance, last chance saloon for Lungs to get this done. Malusi the Malusi says Kaposa is underrated. What a beautiful drive from the Williams driver. Meanwhile, Lungs being cheered on by fellow Red Bull, by the Red Bull Junior driver, that being Sadley Mazansi, currently driving in the second tier. But Kaposa keeping it together, a man who has earned his stripes, no doubt, has Kaposa, a man who has performed so admirably here. And, well, I do wonder what kind of a position Kaposa might have been in were it not for load shedding and other missed races. Kaposa currently P7 in the championship standings, and funny enough, the man chasing him right now is currently chasing him in the driver standings as well. Kaposa 61 championship points, Lungs 54 championship points currently. So this is pretty much an accurate representation of what the season has been like right now. Kaposa keeping Lungs at bay as Sikle has already begun the final lap out here in Austria. I'm sure the pressure for Kabisi is real, says a Brown Boy and Sika, whose teammates is hunting down the Williams driver. Red light flashing. Lungs can smell blood into turn 3. Lungs, who will have a better exit. Kaposa seems to have gotten a cleaner one on those meter compound tires. They're side by side on that rush down to turn 4 as Sikle is on the verge of completing another memorable day here for himself. Here they come, middle of contact. Kaposa manages to keep it together. They're side by side, but Kaposa and Lungs are both flashing here in lap 36 of 36. It's an absolutely beautiful battle for the race win out here in Austria. Meanwhile, we have to give his flowers to the man who has led this championship from the beginning, and he wins the championship in Austria. It's P1 for Sikle as the battle for P2 hots up into turn 10. Here comes Kaposa. He keeps it together. He manages to hold his nerve and claims the P2 spot. It's a beautiful podium for Kaposa, and a sensational finish for Lungs as well, who fought valiantly but could not usurp Kaposa from that P2 spot. And Nevo is going to bring it home almost 27 seconds behind the leading pack. It's going to be a P4 for the Haas driver. And Shangu, meanwhile, is it's a decent day for him points-wise. Points-wise, it's going to be P5 for the Mercedes driver. Beautiful stuff for him as far as the points are concerned. He needs these points, does M. Shangu. Meanwhile, Romeo, a.k.a. Mandla, is on the verge here. Here he comes on the penultimate corner, soon to be the final corner, bringing it home in P6. Mandla, a decent day for him, a man who's vowed never to be in the playoffs again. Mandla, P7. We have Mandla P6 rather, Mfundo P7, Titus P8, Esbuda P9, Bankowi, the final driver to finish within the points, and Inati and Dwax rounding off the finishers here. What an absolutely beautiful and sensational race we have had out here. But once again, of course, it is the champion. It's a three-peat for the Haas driver. Joining me in the commentary box, congratulations, Sikle. That was an absolute masterclass again. How does that feel? It's a three-peat, an absolutely beautiful, historic three-peat on the top tier.
Jeez, what a season. Happy, but at the same time not. I did earlier say that wish it didn't end like this. But yeah, hard work paid off, guys. It paid off.
How on earth, Sikle, do you? I mean, with having such an advantage from a couple of seasons in, a couple of races into the season, how do you stay switched on? How do you stay ruthless? Quality session after quality session, lap after lap, sector after sector. How do you? What does it take, like practically?
Ah, man, it's just practice. I spend a lot of time on time trial and online actually alone. I'll go online alone and just practice race pace. I'll start off obviously with less grippier tires and I'll try to get as quick as possible with those. But then as I work my way to these faster tires, I'm giving away my secrets now. It just feels way more easier and I have more stability. It feels better. But yeah, that's generally what I just do to practice. Quite a lot of time though.
Man, and it really shows out on track. Beautiful, beautiful, major congratulations, a man who sets the gold standards race after race, and your three-time Breakaway League Racing top-tier champion, Sihle Langa. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Congratulations, sir. Kaboza is on the podium once again. What a beautiful second half of the season he's having, showing his class, showing his pedigree, a man being lauded rightly by our audience, our watching audience. Congratulations, sir, P2. You fought valiantly there in the sprint race, and you fought for that P2 spot and hung on towards the end there.
Yeah, greetings, Tyson. I hope everyone's good. Yeah, I tried to hang on to Sihle, but on the first stint, I could manage the gap to be under 5 seconds. But after the pits, I know he just pulled away, and then there was also Lungs coming from behind, so I had to also manage that. And he actually took me on the last lap, in sector on turn two, and then I tried to switch back, and I broke late on corner three. Yeah, it was a tough race. Just had to be consistent and not make any mistakes. But mistakes could be very costly. Yeah, and didn't have a good start and didn't have a good sprint race. Broke my wing, had to pit, and then I saw the safety car, so I took the opportunity to pit for softs. Luckily, why am I saying luckily? Unfortunately, my teammates crashed, so it promoted me to P3 for the sprint, which meant a decent enough position for the start of the race.
And what's for you? What has been the key, Kavosa? We've watched you, especially considering, let's say, the end of last season, where it was a huge and brilliant fight for you to stay in the top tier. And this year, there's a sense of you've really found your stride and you're fighting at the top. What's been the difference in terms of your preparation or what you're doing differently?
I'm actually getting less time to prepare. I do like 30 minutes before the race because I have less time. But I think the new game is more suited to my driving style, I guess. So, and other people who were faster on the previous game might seem to be struggling. So I think this game is actually suiting my driving style because I don't really have a lot of time to prepare anymore and to even join friendly lobbies. I haven't joined a friendly lobby in ages. So. Yeah, I think it's a new game. I think I need to make this advantage last because I'm sure by next season, other people would have gotten the hang of it and they'll return to their true pace. But yeah, I'm just glad I won't be fighting for relegation like last season.
I'm sure it's such a huge relief, man. Clay, just finally, once you've secured the championship, I mean, it's a familiar feeling to you, rightfully so. What changes, if anything at all, as far as your approach is concerned? Do you find yourself getting more experimental once the title has been secured, or is it pretty much just a case of keeping things the same but always looking to improve?
Ty, it's not over yet. I've never won a constructive, and I promised my teammate that we will take it, and he deserves the championship. You saw his performance today, and that's what I'll be doing. I'll be there to support him, and if there is a time when that he can win a race, I'll literally give him more points. So he also gets better standings. But yeah, it's not over until constructors is done.
Beautiful stuff. Playing the team game, as always, is Sichle. And man, it's such a privilege to watch you do your thing race after race and be so stunningly consistent. Kaboza, your journey, as always, is just beautiful to watch, especially as a driver who's fought his way down from the Wild West, that being the lower tiers, and now is fighting and holding his own right here in the top tier. Beautiful stuff from both of you. Congratulations, gentlemen. Let's go to the final comments. Congratulations pouring in for Sichle from the likes of Man Ray, Brown Boy, Kid K, Lungello, and everybody there. And Malusi cheering on his teammate Mshangu, who did well to finish fifth in the race here today. Gentlemen, we will see you on at the next race, which will be taking place in Spain. España, bienvenida a España a todos. So that'll be some beautiful stuff for everybody to see. Thank you, everyone, for taking part in the comments. Crash, I know, has been with me in commentary. I'm not sure if he's still online and if he has a final question or so. If so, we'll give him a couple of seconds to do so. But thank you, everybody. This being joining us in the top tier of Breakaway League Racing. Crash, mic check, you still around with us? No, he doesn't seem to be around. Well, that concludes our broadcast. Remember, tomorrow we have the Tier 2 and 3 drivers racing in Spain. 7:30 for Tier 2 and 9 p.m. for Tier 3. So do make sure you keep it locked. And, of course, keep an eye on our social media pages in case anything changes. Congratulations, Sichle and Kapoza, finishing on the podium. We unfortunately couldn't get Lungs online for the commentary chat. But thank you very much. We will see you tomorrow for Tier 2 and Tier 3.
Thank you so much.
Hey, congrats, Sichle, on your title again.
Congrats as well, Kaposa.
Sabawell.
Nah, you'll get there with that pace, trust me. If you're not practicing